And ask for a roll call, please.
Mrs. Reyes,
Here.
Mr. Nielsen,
Here.
Mrs. Contreras,
Here.
Mrs. Sashanek.
She's here, she stepped out. And then we'll have a moment of silence, please. Oh, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll take a moment of silence. It's a good time if you have your cell phones. Don't forget to put those on vibrate. And is there any board member statements that they'd like to give? No? All right, well, with that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Freeman to give the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Buenas tardes a todos. Good evening, everybody. We're having our board meeting on the first Tuesday of the month instead of the second because next week is fall break. We're doing the same thing next month because of the election. So we'll be on the first Tuesday in November as well. That means we're finishing up student-led parent-teacher conferences this week. Grades and attendance are being tallied. Progress reports for the first quarter of the school year are going in the books. Conferences are running till Friday. So please don't miss that opportunity to get involved and support your child's education if you haven't done that already. While a lot has been accomplished in the first quarter, there's still a lot to do. The pandemic set back learning quite a bit, and we still have ground to make up academically. But the pandemic and inflation have also taken a toll on our students, staff, and families socially and emotionally. People everywhere seem to be short on patience and understanding, so we want to encourage everyone to be mindful of how we can support others. More and more people are acting out when we need them to be helping out. Attacking and withdrawing or only making matters worse. So it's time for a respite and a chance to regroup and recharge. Yes, it's time for fall break. Re-energizing supports the teaching and learning process and translates into better behavior at our schools for everyone when we return on the 17th. I encourage families to take this opportunity to share some new experiences and make some memories. I hope none of you have already missed school to go to the fair, and break is the best time to go have fun at the fair. The weather is going to be getting nicer for camping, visiting the zoo, or just walking in nature. There's great places to hike down by the river or nearby mountain parks. People might try visiting different towns, taking a train ride, touring a mine or a ghost town or a museum. Playing table games, reading for fun, or doing other activities at home give children a break from all of the screen time they're getting in schooling these days, and that can be restorative too. As families spend time together, we hope they'll use those opportunities to expand vocabulary, make connections with learning that occurs in schools, and that's a win-win strategy for everybody, not just for the break, but potentially for a lifetime. Deadlines for general election are approaching, and if you're not registered to vote or know somebody who needs a gentle nudge, there's only 1 week left to register. October 11th is the deadline. Registered voters in Maricopa County can request to join or update the Active Early Voting List, or AEVL. By completing online registration form, you can also still be sent a ballot by mail to vote. There's lots of options available on the county recorder's website, or people can call the helpline for voter registration at 1-877-THE-VOTE if they have any questions. The deadline either to join the AEVL or request a ballot by mail is October 28th. It's important to model the civic participation for our children because it is the backbone of our democracy. Only roughly a quarter of all voters are parents with children in school, so it's critical for parents' voices to be heard. Littleton has board seats on the November ballot, but we don't have a budget or tax-related question. We will again in the future because that's part of how Arizona manages school finances. Even with these elections, Arizona continues to have an average per pupil spending that's around $4,000 below the national average for every student. We're proud to announce that Quinton STEM Academy was presented last month with yet another Model PLC Certificate of Achievement and flag. A week later, we were notified that the Littleton STEM Academy achieved Model PLC status for the first time. To earn this honor, students have to show continuous academic growth year after year. And earning that recognition is the result of hard work and determination from staff, students, and the families who support them. So congratulations to all of you for those efforts. Our Exceptional Student Services held their quarterly district-wide parent night with in-person and virtual attendance options. Parents were able to learn about developmental milestones, the child find process, and school age eligibility. The ESS Parent Night team will host their second night for parents on October 27th, where they'll continue to discuss disability awareness with an emphasis on autism and specific learning disabilities. This month, our schools have been working on tenets of Kids at Hope with the firm belief all kids are capable of success without exception. The annual Masters Institute on Hope Conference returned to in-person this fall, and people were very happy to be back together. Several leaders were honored, many of those whose career paths had taken them through Littleton and are in other places now for their commitment with the Kids at Hope framework. I was not only honored to receive the Hope's Honor Award, but selected to give the closing keynote address on restoring hope. Hope's important for all of us, students, staff, and families. We need to be in the moment to see the promise of the future. And I asked everyone to try to be a caring adult for others so that hope can be restored around us. Traveling to one's future to make plans for today is one of the tenets of Hope philosophy, and the home and the family are one of the important destinations which we ask students to travel. A safe place for families and staff to interact and have fun is part of that picture. So schools are planning events for Trunk or Treat with game stations and food or even food trucks this year. At Fine Arts, treasure hunters will be transforming their vehicles into a variety of fun-filled treats for students. Littleton STEM will have a full haunted house. Sounds scary. At Collier Business Academy, each student has set SMART goals to climb and attain their future success. Fifth grade teacher class posted their goals in the hallway. One student's goal read, quote, "I will do one act of kindness to someone I don't know every day until Christmas. And I'll track this goal in my daily folder, and we dream big, no exceptions," unquote. The Littleton Online Academy, every student sets SMART goals in ELA math and character development, and the students are monitoring their progress toward these goals to demonstrate they have dreams for the future and climb to reach these goals and dreams every day. Collier invited parents and families back on campus with their Fall Festival Book Fair. Librarians set up a huge display and planned extra activities to draw in the crowd. The Collier PTSA is planning a family movie night that's sure to be a hit. Every month they have coffee with the principal to discuss school topics. At Estrella STEM, they held their first in-person with a virtual option PTSA meeting, both with highest attendance to date. The meeting featured Duet, a nonprofit organization that supports grandparents raising grandchildren, and was greatly appreciated by attendees. Littleton STEM, in addition to their PAC meetings and Epic Firebird Award assemblies, will have committee working to host coding and computer science event in December with their WestMed partnership. Quinton STEM invited families to join in a Z-Space night. Families were able to experience firsthand Z-Space devices and how they bring learning to life, and many of them left wanting to purchase a system for themselves. Other activities took place around schools in alignment with Hispanic Heritage Month, which spotlights contributions made by American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, Caribbean, Central, and South America. These observances were first formalized by President Johnson in 1968 and later expanded by Ronald Reagan. Another example was students' contributions from notable Hispanic Americans, such as Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, or discovering and tasting Latin foods and learning about Latin holidays and celebrations. Our online 7th and 8th graders created a slideshow of specific people to celebrate, and some students wrote essays about their chosen figures. Finally, I have a small request. We're still in need for a dad to volunteer to help chaperone the district's 6th grade signature trip to Campway in the Tall Pines just outside Prescott. For the first half of the week, when we return from spring break. So we're sending 2 shifts of 86 graders that are splitting the week at the camp. It was established in 1941, but it's redone. It's really nice. The trip includes all kinds of activities and meals. We made room for everybody who wanted to go this year. We had 2 nonprofits who helped support the fees for 10 kids. In addition to the scholarships provided by the Littleton Education Foundation, the foundation deferred the cost of $40 from the fee for every camper this year, making the trip more affordable for parents, students, and their families. So thank you so much to the foundation board. I'd also like to express our appreciation to our staff who chose to contribute to the Valley of the Sun United Way drive this year. It in turn supports our staff, students, and foundation in various ways throughout the year. Just this past Friday, Kim Bodwin from Valley of the Sun United Way contacted us regarding a donation of teacher supply kits. These kits include items teachers use in their classroom like paper, dry erase markers, Kleenex wipes, and we're going to try to get a set for every homeroom. So please join us in thanking Kim and the Best Buy team for offering these donations. I'd also like to thank Cindy Landis, Adriana Amaviska, Sandra Threw, Margarita Peterson, and the other individuals who were involved in recent student materials donations valued at over $5,500 from Donors Choose for all of our schools. And that, Madam President, is all I have.
Thank you. So we'll go on to item B, which is the reading of the proclamations. We have 3 to read from: a Bullying Prevention Month, National Principals Month, and National School Lunch. I'll start off and I will read the National School Lunch of Mr. Nelson to read one, and Mrs. Contreras, if you don't mind, would you read the last one? Thank you. So I'm going to start off with National School Lunch. I know we let you off, Amy. I saw you. Whereas the National Lunch Program was established to safeguard the health and well-being of the nation's children, and it's dedicated to support the success of our students. And whereas proper nutrition helps students focus on their potential and worry less about nutrition, and whereas the school lunch program is essentially a community effort, and whereas the National School Lunch Week is designated each October to emphasize the importance of food security in our youth, and now, therefore, the Governing Board of the Littleton Elementary School District do hereby proclaim October 11th through the 15th of 2022 National School Lunch Week, and it be further resolved that the Littleton community becomes aware and concerned about their children's and their own habits in hope of achieving a more healthful citizenry for today and the future. And then, Mr. Nilsson, will you read the next one?
Thank you so much, certainly will. Proclamation of the Governing Board. Whereas the Littleton School District Governing Board, in coordination with the U.S. Congress, has declared the month of October as National Principals Month. And whereas principals are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, I keep going on here, budget analysis, facility managers, special program administrators, guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. Whereas principals are entrusted with the education and development of young people, the most valuable resource. And whereas principals set the academic tone for the schools and work collaboratively with staff to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, develop a mission statement, and set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence. And whereas the courageous vision, dedication, and determination of principal provides mobilizing forces behind any school reform effort. And whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and their assistants to success of students in the Littleton Elementary School District, and to encourage everyone in our community to observe National Principals Month. And now, therefore, be it resolved in honor of the service of all school principals and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to high-quality education and to celebrate school leader accomplishments. The month of October is hereby designated in the Littleton School District to be National Principals Awareness Month.
All right. Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed at a person or group of people, whereas bullying occurs in neighborhoods, playgrounds, schools, and through technology such as the internet and cell phones, and whereas various researchers have concluded that bullying is the most common form of violence affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually, and whereas children who bully are at greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behaviors, and whereas children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated, now therefore the governing board of the Littleton Elementary School District do hereby proclaim October as National Bullying Prevention Month. And be it further resolved that Littleton schools, students, parents, recreation programs, religious institutions, and community organizations be encouraged to engage in a variety of awareness and prevention activities designed to make our community safer for all children and adolescents.
Time, we're going to do an annual theme video presented by the District Elementary School for the 22-23 school year, which will be played. But for the audience that is streaming this, we are pausing the streaming momentarily. We're asking that our remote audience stay tuned. We'll be back in about, nod, thumbs up, perfect, okay. So with the thumbs up, we'll turn it over to Ms. Vandewater.
President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, I am excited to present to you our program showcase for this evening. Tonight, Dr. Michael Cagle, principal of Country Place Leadership Academy, will showcase their signature school focus through highlighting their leadership instruction, mission, vision, community partners, and program enhancements. Dr. Cagle will share the impact of their vision, inspiring leaders to exceed, achieve, and dream. Additionally, Country Place Leadership Academy will showcase their Kids at Hope Student of the Month, 8th grader, Madison Davis, and recognize a dedicated volunteer, Julie Fatch. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Michael Cagle.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, E-team members, Dr. Freeman, members of the crowd, and all those watching. I never come alone, so I always have to bring some backup. So I brought two incredible leaders today. I have Ryan and I have Madison, who you'll also see a video for here in a little bit. But I have to tell you before we get started, they're going to share with you one of their leadership roles, one of them. We only have 8 minutes, so they can only share one. Mm-hmm. All of them have, these two have many leadership roles at our school, which is pretty amazing. So we're going to share a little bit about leadership at Country Place Leadership Academy, and then I'm going to turn it over to these incredible student leaders to share a little bit about their leadership roles. So without further ado, let's see if I can get this guy. Here we go. So our mission really is to empower students to be leaders. We believe that all students are leaders. All students have genius. We want to empower our students to lead their own learning. And we believe in educating the whole child. We also believe that change starts with us, and we can make a significant difference. And these two amazing leaders up here are going to talk about some examples of that. One of the amazing things about living our mission at Country Place is you can walk the halls in the morning, and we have music playing, and everyone's coming in, and you can stop students, and there's student after student that has leadership stories to tell and ways that they're supporting other students and helping each other, growing and learning and supporting our community. It's really inspiring just to walk through the hallways and talk to students. So as Ms. Vandewater shared, our vision is inspiring leaders to exceed, achieve, and dream. We teach all of our students the 7 habits of highly effective people. There's different versions of it based on age. So our staff gets the 7 habits of highly effective people. We're excited to be certifying an additional number of staff people besides myself and Ms. Larm to be trainers. And then we teach our middle school students the 7 habits of highly effective teens. And then our younger students, our elementary students, the 7 habits of happy kids. And you can see some of our 7 habits materials there, but it gives us a great language to talk about leadership and to talk about improving ourselves. Some of our community partners, we partner with a variety of government entities. One of the kind of unique portions of our leadership flavor is the work that we do with various government branches, including Congressman Grijalva's office, our state legislators, both our senators and our representatives, and a variety of legislators from all around the state. Our county board of supervisors, various entities within the cities of Phoenix, Avondale, and Tolleson, and we get tons of support from our local government officials, which we really appreciate. We also work well with the Arizona Bar Association. They're doing a lot of work with our leadership projects in middle school. We have a great partnership with Westmac, obviously Franklin Covey, who we do a lot of work with around the 7 habits, and Leader in Me. And then Panda Express and Target. Panda Express they sponsored us to get kicked off through the program, which was great. And then Hickman Family Farms, and there are many others. Every time we have a leadership day, we're looking forward to an in-person leadership day again this year. We will gather in more community partners. So opportunities for us to capitalize on authentic real-world leadership opportunities. Again, we teach and learn the 7 habits. One of the things that we believe at our school is you teach to learn. So if you can teach someone something, you learn it so much better yourself. We also teach these 7 habits and the leadership paradigms to authentic audiences. So we teach it to each other, other grade level classes. You'll see some pictures of that in a minute. And then in middle school, one of the things that we're bringing as an enhancement to our school are mock congressional hearings. We're looking forward this year to putting together the mock courtroom and congressional hearing room and really getting those rocking and rolling, and we'll have some great, I think, pictures for you guys at our showcase next year. So here's our leaders in action. If you look carefully, you'll see 2 twins up there. We didn't twin today, though. All right, well, we're up there. But you see the young ladies in the middle. 2 of our students got to kick off our district kickoff this year, and they were fantastic. 2 young ladies speaking to the entire district. Sierra and Adelaney were really excited about that. You see a variety of learning opportunities and leading opportunities there on the left. You see a group of students teaching another group of students the 7 habits. The group down on the bottom, we have a stealth, we call them the stealth crew. They go around and help clean up trash in the morning from breakfast, and also help me when we were a little short-staffed to move around some desks and stuff around campus. You can see some of our new technology going on with kids collaborating. So Mr. Verrill and the technology crew, thank you very much for those amazing boards that we have going. You can see them all working there. And then there's one of our 4th grade classes. They're really rocking on trying to build large numbers and actually be able to see them in Ms. Reese's class. And then here we have, we want to say a special shout out to Civics Matter and the Arizona Cardinals Close-Up and Dr. Freeman for helping 10 of our students have an amazing opportunity to go on an all-expenses trip to Washington, D.C. this summer. So it was a group of 10 8th graders that went on to 9th grade, and you can see it was amazing. They got to fly on the Cardinals plane. They got to meet a bunch of the Cardinals players. They got to meet the governor. You can see they got a full tour of the plane. I mean, it was just an incredible experience, and we really want to thank all of our partners for that opportunity. So as I said before, the real meat of the presentation is these 2 amazing young leaders, and I'm going to let Ryan tell you a little bit about the Letter Blitz leadership role that he plays. So come on up. Yeah.
Why do we have Blitz leaders? Blitz leaders help younger students learn how to read. Learning how to read is very important because it helps them go forward with their career. What do Blitz leaders do? We help them out with words and reading. We read the same books. We look forward for their fluency. We also ask them questions. We build up their comprehension. What have been the results? The results have been I choose to be a Blix leader to help other learners to learn how to read. One of my students that I started with, he had a lower score, and as time moved on, he came out a little better and his score went higher. As it went higher, he helped out other students with some of the work, and he had the highest score at the end of everything. I feel good to help others and to be a role model around the campus and forward of students always saying hi to me when I see them or now.
Now what are you doing?
Now I'm in Shine helping out kindergarten learning and feeling like a Blix leader again.
Man, good job. Boom. So as we've noticed that coming out of the pandemic, there's been a lot of academic challenges, and we can't do this alone. So we've been trying to partner with families and with each other, again, teach to learn. And Ryan was part of a group that we called them the Blitz Leaders, and they were helping kids with sight words and with their reading fluency, and it's just amazing. And he's ready to get it started again. He's like, come on, when are we getting this thing going again? So thank you for everything that you guys have done. That was amazing. All right, Madison's going to talk to you a little bit about our Lighthouse team. We have a unique leadership structure at our school that includes both adults and students, and she's going to share that with you a little bit about that.
Okay, so my name is Madison. I'm a part of the Student Lighthouse team. The Student Lighthouse team drives leadership work at our school. The students on the Student Lighthouse team share ideas and input on how to improve leadership at our school. We also make sure that all of our students' voices are heard and understood. Students and staff work to partner to improve our school. On the service learning team, staff and the students in the Lighthouse team are divided into different action teams. I'm student lead on the service learning action team. Our team has about 8 students and 7 staff members. Our mission is to help get more students and families involved in helping our school and community. We want to support our community in a variety of different ways, including our annual food drive, a water drive, and other service learning opportunities.
So as Madison shared, leadership work is complex. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things going on. So all of our teachers are on an action team, and we have, I'm thinking there's around 70 students on the Lighthouse team right now, and those students apply for the job. They went through interviews. I think some of you may have been interviewers in the past, but it's an amazing opportunity for our students to participate in leadership. So we're really excited about the work that is going on at Country Place, and we're here to take any questions or comments. I mean, these guys, they took off on me, but if you need them, we can bring them right back up.
Well, on behalf of the governing board, we thank both of our leaders, and we know that you'll go on to do great things. So we look forward to seeing you again, and I'm sure you'll make a mark as you continue your journey. So thank you.
They are amazing.
And I would add, the first time at the podium is the scariest. It gets easier.
It really doesn't. Time. Oh. Are we doing a presentation?
Hi, my name is Madison Davis, and I believe that I'm a kid at Hope because of all the different things that I've done around my school and in my family to help myself and the people around me. I'd like to first thank you for nominating me as Country Place's Kid at Hope for 2022 and 2023. I have done multiple different leadership things at Country Place, including Student Lighthouse, Student Government, Shine, and Superintendent Youth Council. I have helped others and been a role model for others. My aces include Mrs. Morin, my parents, my grandparents, and Mrs. Silverman. Mrs. Morin is my ace because of her helpfulness and kindness towards me. And my mom is my ace because of her amazing encouragement and helpfulness. My dad and grandparents are my aces because of their helpfulness and encouragement. My Mrs. Sobelman is my ace because she's been very kind and thoughtful towards me over the years. Now I'd like to thank you for the Country Place Leadership Kid at Hope position of the month.
And I do have to tell you, I had to make an appointment to talk to her today because she had so many things going on. She was editing something for student government. I had to make an appointment. And I said, hey, can you come see me after lunch? She says, well, I've got a couple things first. I'm like, all right, well, come see me when you're ready. So, Madison, congratulations. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Cagle. I'm the principal at Country Place Leadership Academy, and I'm here to recognize one of our volunteers of the month, Julie Fatch. Julie has spent over 30 years teaching in the Littleton Elementary School District and just retired last year, but she couldn't stay away. So in addition to regularly subbing, she volunteers every Thursday to support our teachers in their professional growth. She comes in and teaches lessons in their classroom so they can go and observe other teachers and collaborate and learn together. Julie, thank you for what you're doing. I cannot begin to thank you enough for what you're doing to help our teachers learn and grow. Thanks, Julie. And gave Julie the night off because she's subbing all week. So she said, you know, can I have the night off? So I said, yeah. So, but she's amazing, and we really appreciate all that she does for us.
We'll let her know we thank her as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cagle.
We don't have any call to the public.
Okay. So at this time, we have no call to the public, so we'll move on to the consent item, consent agenda number 9. Is there any board member that wishes to have anything pulled off the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I'll have a motion to approve or disapprove.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
I'll second
I'll
that.
second, sorry. You
I'll
sec-
second that.
You'll second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. At this time, if the parents or students want to leave, we have more business. You're more than welcome to stay, but I know dinner and homework and all that good stuff continues to wait. So we'll leave it up to you to decide what's best for you and your family. Thank you, and thank you for coming. We're moving on to number 10. So this is yours, Ms. Vandewater, Integrated Action Plans.
President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, before introducing our 4 principals to present their school's integrated action plans, I would like to provide you with a very brief overview and reminder of the integrated action plan and school improvement process. The comprehensive needs assessment, root cause analysis, and integrated action plan for all Title I schools includes Title I, II, III, IV, school improvement, and move on when reading. Schools use the 6 principles, indicators, and elements to identify strengths and needs to increase student achievement and strengthen school systems leading to sustainable improvement. The primary needs identified in the comprehensive needs assessment become the foundation for the school's integrated action plan. The local education agency integrated action plan is based on the school's comprehensive needs assessment findings. It supports the implementation of the school integrated action plan. In order for Title I schools to receive and maintain federal school funding for continuous improvement, the Arizona Department of Education requires all schools to complete a comprehensive and rigorous process. Each school site is mandated to conduct a thorough and reflective data analysis to determine needs, implement necessary systems change with evidence-based practices throughout the continuous improvement process. When hearing from each principal this evening, they will share 2 of their 6 integrated action plan SMART goals, data used from the previous year to set the goals, strategies and action steps to meeting the goals, and measures to determine growth or challenges. The Arizona Department of Education has confirmed that we have missing student assessment data from our state AASA. The integrated action plan strategies set by schools and presented tonight will not change, but once the updated scores arrive, the data could change. Tonight we will begin with Country Place Leadership Academy, Dr. Michael Cagle. Based on the initial AASA state assessment calculations, the average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in ELA for 3rd through 8th grades was 36% and ranged from 32 to 41 in grade 4, which was 12 points higher than the district average. The average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in math for 3rd through 8th grades was 22% and ranged from 16 to 32% in grade 4, which was 8 points higher than the district average. Welcome to Dr. Cagle.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Freeman and the E-team. It's been a long time since I had a chance to speak with you, so good to see everybody again. We want to share 2 of our goals for this year for Country Place Leadership Academy, and the first one is a leadership goal around school belonging. So we want to increase our school belonging score on our Leader in Me measurable results assessment. It's our leadership survey that we use with our students, parents, and teachers. We want to increase that score from 66 to 76. We had this as a goal last year. We did see an increase, and we want to continue that trend going forward. We really feel like the school belonging piece with the pandemic and all of the trauma and challenges that people have experienced, that connection to school is really, really important. It really drives our leadership work and it drives our academic work. So our desired outcomes, like I said, are to increase that by 10 points. So some of our actions that we're going to use to do that, we're going to continue our morning meetings, focus on character development daily, implement our leadership roles in the classroom and school-wide, and you heard 2 examples of that today. Training and implementing on the Leader in Me and the 7 habits, and we're expanding that by getting additional staff members certified. We're also training and implementing all things EQ. So our success criteria, we want to see as we do walkthroughs and move around the building, we want to see instruction in character development, growth mindset, and student potential, and we see those things both in instruction and in results from students. And we also want to see an increase in participation in our students on the leadership action teams, in classroom leadership roles, and in leadership roles school-wide. We have a process in place where students can propose leadership roles. Just recently, we had a student propose to be a support in the library, and another student proposed to help clean up the campus. Now, you'll be surprised what grade level it was. 7th grade, both of those. So middle school kids stepping up, which is great. So that's our first goal around leadership. Our second goal that we want to share with you is around mathematics. So we want to increase our proficiency in mathematics from 22% to 50%. We know we have a long way to go in supporting our students in math, but we're excited about tackling that challenge. So some actions and some strategies that we're going to do in order to support that is to help our teachers increase opportunities and training on the use of best practices and the effective use of our core materials. Promote collaboration with our collaborative teams with a school-wide focus on using common formative assessments and helping them unpack essential standards. We are also working on implementing some supplemental math materials, which we approved for this year, number worlds and building fact fluency. Got some great pictures this morning from some students and some teachers playing games with building fact fluency, so we're really excited about that. We want to increase the percentage of proficient and highly proficient students on our common formatives, on unit assessments. And then we want to see an increase in the use of rigorous tasks, best practices, and the effective use of our core materials as we do walkthroughs. We're really excited about the work that we're doing in all areas, but in particular around leadership and math. So I would entertain any questions that you might have, or I'll turn it over to my next friend.
I just wanted to comment on one of your SMART goals. 22 to 50 is, you got a lot of work
It's
to
big.
do.
It's audacious.
Hey, I say go big or don't go. So
That's right.
I appreciate that movement, and we'll be watching your skill set. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate that. Why did they pick 50? 50? So what we did is we took a look at the number of students that we had that were proficient, highly proficient, and approaching, like partially proficient. And then if we weren't at 50, we rounded up. So we weren't quite at 50 with that, so we rounded up because we're going for it, man. So 50 was like the minimum we were going to be at.
Whatever
and I
you're-
believe in most grade levels we were over that, but in general it ended up being around 50%.
Well, as long as you had some mathematical formula, that's
We
what
did.
matters, right?
Well, we had math, and then we went for the gusto.
Good for you. Well,
Thank
that's exciting.
Thank you, Dr. Cagle. We will now hear from Mrs. Amy Rendon, the principal at Tres Rios Service Learning Academy. Based on initial double ASA calculations, the average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in ELA for 3rd through 8th grades was 24% and ranged from 15 to 35% in grade 7. Grade 7 proficiency was 2% higher than the district average. The average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in math for 3rd through 8th grades was 16% and ranged from 11 to 24% in grade 3. Welcome, Mrs. Rendon.
Good evening, Governing Board President Reyes, Governing Board members. Is everything okay?
If not, we can move on to another principal and I can email it to Mr. Verrill. Will that work?
We'll try. I have, my copy with my script, yes. I don't have to read from the screen. No, I don't. Would you like me to proceed? Okay. Well, it's just like me to be able to. Yeah, you know, it's okay. We'll manage. Let me put this. Okay, well, I'll start again. Good evening, Governing Board President Reyes, Governing Board members, Dr. Freeman, and the Littleton community. Thank you for this opportunity to share Tres Rios Service Academy's Integrated Action Plan. Tonight, I'll focus on 2 of our goals. The first goal I would like to share is, by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 50% of 1st through 8th grade students will increase their performance rating in ELA by 1 performance level as measured by the pre to post district ELA assessment. In kindergarten, students will increase the percentage of low-risk kindergarten students by 10% from the beginning of the year to the end of the year on FastBridge. We noticed that in 21-22, 35% of our students in grades 1st through 8th grade grew by at least 1 performance level from the pre to the post ELA assessment, and kindergarten had 57% of their students on low risk in FastBridge. To accomplish this goal, our leadership team will partner with our students, staff, and community to effectively communicate and utilize data to inform our instruction and increase student achievement. We will build the capacity of our staff to deliver data-informed instruction by supporting them to use data to determine instructional next steps and track progress towards goals to monitor our outcomes. Our grade level team leaders will collaborate and guide our staff in delivering this data informed quality instruction that supports the needs of all students, because we believe that all kids can succeed, no exceptions. It is through our scheduled targeted intervention time, our What I Need time, that our students will receive small group instruction and access to our online intervention programs at their level. At Tres Rios, we have also developed short-term goals and action steps to achieve the end-of-year long-term goals through our professional learning communities. Each grade level created SMART goals and share their progress quarterly. Teachers are provided weekly time and professional learning around professional learning communities. Grade level and content teams meet twice a week to identify essential standards, create common formative assessments, review data, and determine next steps for remediation and also enrichment. It is through our collaboration that we will provide targeted instruction to meet the needs of every learner. We are committed to partner with all stakeholders in the continued growth towards our goals. This is why data dissemination collaboration among all stakeholders is essential. In this effort, the ownership and leadership of our students is priority. Tres Rios supports this through our emphasis in student agency, where all students establish goals that are attainable and in alignment to their specific needs each quarter. Our teachers work with students every day to increase the student agency by initiating actions towards their goals, reflecting and regulating that progress as we release responsibility. Tres Rios will demonstrate growth and attainment of our ELA goal by the increase in ELA student achievement achieved through FastBridge, district benchmarks, online intervention programs, and end-of-year state assessments. Also, the continued development of the whole student and student ownership of goal setting, monitoring, and celebrating of growth in collaboration with our students, families, and community. We look forward to the opportunities throughout the year for the continued collaboration with our students, families, and communities during our parent-teacher conferences, which are student-led, coffee with the principal opportunities monthly, and day-to-day interactions. Now, our second goal I would like to share with you is, by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 50% of our 1st through 8th grade students will increase their performance rating in math. At least one performance level as measured by the pre to post district math assessment, and kindergarten will increase Dreambox on-track usage by 10%. In 21-22, 32% of students in grades 1 through 8th grade grew by at least one performance level from the pre to post math assessment. In kindergarten, we had 9.3% students on track in Dreambox. To accomplish this goal, we will strengthen our understanding of the framework for collecting, storing, accessing, and disseminating district, school, and student level data. As math has been the 21-22 school year focus at Tres Rios, we will continue to focus on strengthening our first best instruction and data analysis process to target small group instruction. We will do so by developing collective efficacy, meaning the knowledge and confidence of our staff through professional development focused on differentiation and student engagement. This will embrace our focus on leadership development and building capacity within our team to analyze data, determine our instructional next steps. It is through a differentiated professional development plan that focuses on the needs of our teachers that we will then meet the needs of our students. Continued classroom observations and identifying best practices to focus on will support students to learn at high levels. Our team will continue to differentiate instruction and systematically analyze data to meet the needs of all students in math. We will use the scheduled targeted intervention times and tutoring to remediate and enrich our students' learning. Through the continued monthly grade level and campus data reviews, we will have the opportunity to not only celebrate, but also to identify opportunities for student and teacher support. Our team has taken advantage of this to paint our path moving forward in our initial meetings in July. Not only did they look at data, But not only has our team made factual observations, but also identified the possible cause to our state testing results. Staff commented that it was nice to celebrate some of the gains and important to identify areas of opportunity. They also commented that they appreciated their involvement with our IAP process, our Integrated Action Plan process, as it is important to know our direction. Tres Rios will demonstrate growth and attainment of our math goal by the increase in math student achievement evidenced through FastBridge, district benchmarks, online intervention programs, and our end-of-year assessments. Also through the implementation of our instructional best practices presented in our classrooms, evidenced by observations, walkthroughs, and evaluations. Thank you for your time and attention. And this concludes our Tres Rios Integrated Action Plan presentation.
I just have one question. Any questions? So on one of the slides, it said that kindergarten would increase the Dreambox on-track usage by 10. So is usage the same as proficiency?
So when we look at Dreambox usage, it tells us that it's at the low risk. So we were trying to figure out for kindergarten, if we look back, students in grades 1 through 8 grew at least one performance level from the pre to post ELA assessment. I'm sorry, that's ELA. Kindergarten had 50% of their students at low risk on FastBridge. So it brings in the usage, but it also brings in partially of the proficiency. So Dreambox, it's mostly the usage, and the usage will be in alignment to their proficiency to get them on track for kindergarten.
So the goal is to have them sit there and use it more, 10% more, which then in turn should show some form of proficiency.
Will show proficiency, especially in kindergarten, because last year it was 57% of proficiency. So our goal is to continue to track that tier 2 and that intervention so we can continue to see that growth in proficiency for kindergarten. Okay.
It has a pause, yeah, it's like reading one book won't make you a better reader, but reading 10 will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rendon. Next, we will hear from Mrs. Kathy Sylvester, principal at the Fine Art Academy. Based on initial AASA calculations, the average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in ELA for 3rd through 8th grades was 20% and ranged from 10 to 31% in grade 3, which was 3 points higher than the district average. The average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in math for 3rd through 8th grades was 14% and ranged from 8 to 27% in grade 3, which matched the district average. Welcome to Mrs. Sylvester.
Good evening, President Reyes, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, members of the executive team, and guests. I'm Kathy Sylvester, principal of Fine Arts Academy. This evening, I'd like to share 2 goals from Fine Arts Integrated Action Plan for the 22-23 school year. The first goal I would like to share is an English language goal. There are 2 parts to this goal, one that speaks to grades 3 through 8, the other part speaks to grades K2. By the end of the 22-23 school year, students in grades 3 through 8 will demonstrate a 10% increase in overall proficiency in ELA as measured by the Arizona's Academic Standards Assessment, or AASA. By the end of the 22-23 school year, students in grades K2 will demonstrate a 10% increase in overall proficiency as measured by FastBridge. Focusing on increasing proficiency rates in all grade levels ensures Fine Arts is continuing to keep student achievement at the forefront of all that we do. To achieve this, our teachers are receiving training on deconstructing standards, identifying essential standards, and prioritizing learning goals for instruction. They use information regarding their students' reading level to plan for small group instruction, tiered interventions, and reteach opportunities. I would now like to share our second goal with you, our mathematics goal. Similar to our ELA goal, there are two parts, a 3-8 component and a K2 focus. By the end of the 22-23 school year, students in grades 3 through 8 will demonstrate a 10% increase in overall proficiency in math as measured by the Arizona's Academic Standards Assessment. By the end of the 22-23 school year, all students in grades K2 will increase their on-target use of Dreambox. At Fine Arts, we believe all students are capable of success in mathematics. In addition to the support our teachers are receiving in the alignment of standards, they are using ADE resources such as item specifications and performance level descriptors to create success criteria for students, developing common formative assessments, and incorporating weekly progress monitoring lessons to ensure overall use of resources such as Dreambox increase. Evidence of success in both of these goals, ELA and mathematics, include instructional outcomes posted at the appropriate depth of knowledge level, clearly articulated learning targets, a coherent progression of key skills needed for student mastery, common formative assessments that provide meaningful data to assist teachers in planning, and ultimately, an overall increase in student proficiency in both ELA and mathematics. Thank you very much for your time.
Is there questions? I have none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sylvester. We will now hear from Mr. Eric Atuhaney, principal at Littleton STEM Academy. Based on initial AASA calculations, the average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in ELA for 3rd through 8th grades was 27% and ranged from 19 to 37% in grade 7, which was 4 points higher than the district average. The average percent meeting proficiency or considered passing in math for 3rd through 8th grades was 17% and ranged from 4 to 33% in grade 3, which was 5 points higher than the district average. Welcome, Mr. Atuhaney.
Thank you. Greetings, members of the board. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Freeman and the executive team, I am pleased to share with you Littleton STEM Academy's Integrated Action Plan. Goal 1 is by May 2023, Littleton STEM Academy will have shown a 15% increase in growth for math and ELA on the state assessment for 3rd through 8th grade students. From 2021 to 2022, we had 12% growth for ELA and 11% growth for math on the state assessment. Our root cause is to develop strong professional learning communities. Professional learning communities are about people, practices, and processes. Learning communities provide teachers an opportunity to focus on student learning, collaborate, and use data results to inform on teaching practices and student outcomes. Our strategies to improve will be to use the data that teachers capture in the classroom setting and their weekly assessment data. We will use our swivels, and the swivel is recording software that is loaded onto district iPad devices that allow coaches and administrators to record professional learning community meetings. This resource was purchased during COVID times by the district. We will use these recordings to coach teachers and teams for improved practices. Success for this goal will be increased student achievement and increased teacher retention. Goal 2 is by May 2023, Littleton STEM Academy will have students kindergarten through 8th grade tracking achievement progress bi-weekly for math and ELA. Our root cause is we want students to develop a sense of control for their learning journey. The desired outcome is that students will develop a sense of urgency and connectedness to their learning. We will implement this by teachers allowing students to check their results immediately after their assessments. Teachers will have bi-weekly data chats with students, and students will track their progress. And tracking progress can look like anything from students coloring charts and graphs to written reflections about their results. Success will be in the form of increased student achievement, lower discipline infractions, and increased student attendance. Thank you for providing me the time to share about Littleton STEM Academy's Integrated Action Plan.
Thank you. Is there questions? Hearing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atuhaney.
All right. So at this time, I'm turning it over to Dr. Haid to discuss the class size overage compensation.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The administration is bringing a revision to the class size overage compensation plan based on increases to wages since the plan was originally developed. The original plan was brought to the board in 2015. Then the board approved a revision in 2021 to include special education teachers and their specific work with caseloads. The LEAP committee brought forward a request to revisit the compensation amounts this year. Mr. French and I revisited the methodology that utilized the average compensation, which is the take-home amount of a paraprofessional, and are proposing the increases noted on the attachment in this item. The option of hiring a para for the team or compensating the teachers within the team for taking on additional students is what the plan is based on. This compensation is considered quarter by quarter, since we will still attempt to hire an additional teacher based on the high numbers. The LEAP committee was given an opportunity to make recommendations and review the proposed plan you see here tonight, and they are supportive of this recommendation. We're asking the board to approve the revisions to the class size overage compensation plan, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I'll start with the board. Is there questions for Dr. Haid? Hearing none, I have just a few. So just so I'm sure, mathematically, I'm sure you did the math, but if I take a look at K through 5th and I understand this chart, the compensation teachers would receive is $1,170 per quarter, correct?
Yes.
And that's based on X amount of teachers times X amount of quarters equals X. If we took that money and focused on hiring another teacher, or several teachers, depending on what the math is, would it not be more effective in helping reduce class size?
We absolutely would hire a teacher if we could find one. This is only in the event we can't hire one. So always when the numbers go up to the proposed amount, like 29 students in a classroom, a teacher is posted.
Okay.
But in the meantime, because teachers are taking on additional work, this is the compensation until we
Gotcha.
can.
So just so I'm clear, when the classroom goes up that large, you automatically post. In every district, it posts.
Yes, ma'am, every school.
So let me ask in kindergarten, because kindergarten classes in some school districts are very high.
Yes.
And plus they have special needs children as well in those same classrooms that may have 25. Is there a consideration based on the revenue to possibly hire a para in those kindergartens and possibly first?
Yes, Mrs. Reyes, we currently, as we brought the pay grades last time, you might remember, we have 3 classifications of paraprofessionals. We have an early childhood one that service K2 students, but are mostly utilized in kinder and a little bit in first. We have special ed paraprofessionals in our BSS who are specially trained to deal with behavior students. And so we have an allocation for that. And based on this, when the numbers get high and they are, reaching those maximums, we will start to, we're looking for teachers now, but we will start to look at adding additional paraprofessionals for support.
And
Yes.
is that automatically done as well, or is that just not as automatic as hiring teachers?
No, absolutely, we do that. We would hire another teacher to reduce the class size.
Right.
But if we can't, we'll hire a para. And generally, the kinder and the first would rather have a para. So that's why
Right.
it's a team decision. Our preference is to hire a para because they can support in multiple areas, and it's a real help to the teachers. But in some cases, depending on the grade, we allow the administration, along with the team and the Human Resources Department, and if special ed is involved, we involve them in the collective decision.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Madam President?
Yes.
A lot of people listening in or in the audience may not appreciate, but every week I've been sending in the update to the board the number of positions we haven't been able to fill because we don't have candidates, both on the certified and classified side. So what happens is the board has approved a staffing ratio for us to hire those teachers or paraprofessionals. So there's a shortage of both certified and classified people. So we have parapro positions we can't fill because we don't have candidates. So I've been reporting each week on that, how many are open and if we have offers out and if we're able to narrow that at all. What happens then is those positions are built into the budget. From the budget savings of not filling them, we can compensate the people who are taking on extra duty to do that. But that budget really was intended for positions, if you could get them. And I think it is one of the concerns of the management team that even paying people extra, will only go so far that people will just be worn out. So we look at this not as a good permanent solution to staffing, but something that we can do until we can attract more people. And we have people going to job fairs and putting out information all over the place. But I think, as everybody is aware, there's a shortage of help in all kinds of professions, not just ours.
Yeah, thank you. I think you put that very well. The concern is, of course, not paying them more because they're doing more. The concern is, how long will they hang in there before they just go, it's not worth it, this is too stressful, too much. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that now, and understandably. I don't know the answer to it. I think if we could figure that out, we'd be ahead of everyone else. But I think it's probably a whole state problem as well.
ma'am.
So thank you for the clarity. This is an action item. So with that, I'll have a motion and a second to approve or disapprove.
I move that the governing board approve the revisions to the class size overage compensation plan.
That's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. And now it looks like, Mr. French, it's your turn.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, President Reyes, Governing Board, Dr. Freeman, and Littleton community. This evening, I'll be reviewing the fiscal year 22 annual financial report. The Arizona Revised Statute 15904 requires school districts to prepare and submit an AFR no later than October 15th each year. This annual financial report is a broad overview of the and reporting system of the district's operations and financial condition. On the slides to follow, we will be reviewing some highlights from the report. The board sees this slide a number of times over the course of the school year. The AFR is the culmination of the budget timeline each fiscal year. As you can see, the budget timeline began in the spring of 21 with the budget development, and it works its way to this evening with the annual financial report. This slide, these slides will follow the order of the AFR document attached to this item if you'd like to follow along. This slide is from page 1 of the AFR and records the revenues received in our levy accounts. These accounts include maintenance and operations, capital, also known as district additional assistance, adjacent ways, and debt service. You can see from the chart a majority of the revenue received by the district was from the state, approximately 59%, followed by property tax, 34%, county equalization, 6%, and revenue in lieu of taxes, 1%. There was also a small amount of interest accrued over the course of the year. Page 2 of the AFR reports on M&O and allows us to review expenditures in several ways. All school districts are required to adhere to the rules and guidelines outlined in the Uniform System of Financial Records, or the USFR. Part of these guidelines are how districts are required to code salaries and purchases. The account code structure is made up of 7 subsections, which are fund, program, function, object, unit, course, and project. We will touch on the first 4 in this presentation. The account code standardization is important because it allows districts and charters to analyze expenditures. First, let's take a look at expenditure by program. Of the almost $37.5 million spent in the maintenance and operation budget, regular education made up $28.5 million, or 76% of the expenditures. Approximately $6.8 million, or 18%, was expended on special education programs. $1.7 million, or 5%, was spent on transportation, and $330,000, or 1%, was spent on the K-3 reading program. I would like to point out that the expenditures for transportation were back to a typical amount this year. Transportation costs were abnormally low in fiscal year 21 due to COVID, as we didn't have typical expenditures in supplies like gasoline and maintenance. And for the majority of the year, drivers were assisting in other areas of the district and were not coded to driving during that time. Page 2 of the AFR also allows us to analyze our expenditures by function. You can think of this expenditure or expenditures by function as the who made the expenditures. Again, of the approximately 37.5 million expended in M&O, 21.7 million or 58% was spent on direct instruction to the students. To complement that number, the district also expended approximately 5.7 million or 15% on support, both student and instructional. 7.1 million or 19% is attributed to operations of the district, and 2.8 million or 8% on administration. Administrative services include business resources, human resources, IT, as well as district and campus administration. Page 2 also gives us a breakdown by object. You can think of object as what the funds were spent on. 87% of expenditures were attributed to salaries and benefits. Purchase services, including employee training, repairs and maintenance, travel, utilities, as well as purchase professional services such as occupational and physical therapists and other contracted positions when needed. Purchase services comprised 3.4 million or 9% of the expenditures by object. Supplies were 4% of the expenditures, and other expenditures were under 1%. Other expenditures include expenditures for dues and fees such as memberships for professional organizations. This chart is not part of the AFR packet, but is an analysis done by management of the budget less expenses by category to determine the budget balance carry forward. As you can see on the bottom line, the district's budget for FY22 was 39.8 million, and the expenditures of just under 37.5 million, leaving the district with a budget balance carry forward of 2.3 million. This is approximately 5.9% budget balance carry forward. Page 4 of the AFR reports on district additional assistance, also known as capital. 68% of expenditures were for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which include campus and district level purchases. Construction services were both campus and district level projects, were 17% of the capital expenditures for the district, while 15% was expended on books, instructional aids for our students. Page 5 of the AFR gives details of federal and state grants, which have been summarized for you here. Federal projects include our title allocations, IDEA grants, E-rate, Medicaid reimbursements, as well. It also includes all the COVID relief funds. Federal grants are typically reimbursement grants, which means we spend the approved allocation and then we file for reimbursement of the approved expenditures. This is one area that often reflects a negative balance when the district is waiting for reimbursement. State projects that are reflected here include the First Things First grant as long with a small gifted education grant and school safety grant. This slide allows us to review the expenditures of the federal projects by grant fund. As you can see, the majority of expenditures were in our COVID-related funds. These expenditures include purchases of ionization units for all the HVAC units in the district, school signature technology like the Z-Space platform the board saw during the last board meeting, and the purchase of additional technology to expand the ability of students to learn remotely. Other expenditures from these funds include salaries and benefits and retention stipends. Other notable expenditures include Title I at 1.45 million and IDEA at 790,000. This concludes my presentation. I would like to thank you and see if any of the board members have any questions or comments for me.
Any discussions? Yes, sir.
Brian, just a question. The COVID-related funds, or what we would call ESSER funds, I was going to ask where the ESSER falls in here, but it's just labeled differently, but it's the same thing.
Yes, Member Nielsen, it's the same exact funds. I use the language interchangeably.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. So this is an action item, so I will ask for a motion and a second to approve or disapprove the annual financial report.
I'll go ahead and move that the governing board approve the 2021-22 annual financial report as presented.
So that's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item 12 passes, the annual financial report. Next, we're moving on, these are discussion items. We're moving on to item 13, recommended policy changes. Dr. Freeman, do you want to help give an overview? There's several.
We've divided these into two groups tonight, Madam President. This is a continuation of policy recommendations from the Arizona School Boards Association policy group. And so we have a group under 13A with Dr. Hayden and a group under 13B with Ms. Garrison. Some of them are policies and some are exhibits. So policies will be a first reading tonight. Changes to regulation and exhibits will be reviewed with the board, but won't come back for a second reading at the next meeting unless changes are required or suggested by the board, so that we could, follow up on whatever edits, so you see whatever the final clean copy would be. So you can see Dr. Hayden's got them, I think, into 4 groups by policy, including regulation and exhibits. She'll go through, beginning with the section J, which is students, and then on to I, which is how those are grouped in your policy manual. So unless there's further clarification needed, we can turn it over to her. Is everybody good? All right.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Policy JLCB, along with the regulation and the exhibit, are brought tonight based on ASBA recommendations. The synopsis of the changes include the removal of the COVID-19 vaccination prohibitions, as well as the extremely specific language outlining the required vaccinations. So these changes, along with the elimination of the exhibit, now allows our policy to be current based on us now referencing the Arizona Department of Health Services. This is the first reading of the policy, as Dr. Freeman stated, and no action is required. These policy recommendations were actually the result of the Department of Health asking for alignment of our policies with their recommendations. Moving on to policy IHAMB and the regulation for family life education. This is the first reading. ASBA is recommending the addition of language to the policy based on HB 2495. The language prohibits schools from referring students or to using sexually explicit material in instruction. So it's the same information carried forward in the policy and the regulation. Policy IJL, library materials and adoption. This is per House Bill 2439. It instructs school districts and charter school governing boards to adopt procedures that provide parents access to a school's library collection and a list of books and materials their child borrows. While this recommendation to the policy and regulation is a change for some, it's a practice that our district has been doing for over a decade. The other change is a requirement for districts that employ library media specialists, and we use a clerk to manage the transactions that occur in the library. So we are recommending the library change for compliance purposes, but our current practices will not change. Absolutely.
Question on that one. Yes, okay, so on January 1st, superintendent shall establish procedures for making those books available. If you go ahead and set it up and say that this is going to be the preview for 30 days or something like that, and nobody comes in and says anything, is there a time limit set for that review? Is there something? And if not, if parents don't have that concern, do we just go ahead and put the books in there? How does that happen, Dr. Freeman?
Madam President, Mr. Nielsen, so the some of the more stringent review requirements depend on your staffing. So what we've done is, and there's a difference between books and titles. So you can go right now into the catalog of books in Littleton through our Destiny site and see all of the titles, like anybody in the community. You don't need a parent view password or anything. So based on that, if you're looking for a specific book you think might be inappropriate, you can check to see if it's in our circulation. We have people who, if their child picks up a book and they're looking at it, may have a concern or whatever, people can come in on any day with any concern about any book. There's not necessarily a window. What the legislature envisioned is when we buy a set of books, usually from Follett, is that we get that order out early and have those available for review before we circulate them. So we're circulating books that have current and older copyrights. These would be newly published, new copyright books. Because we don't have that additional staff, we're going to put them into circulation and make that title available to anybody who wants to look for it, check the content, or borrow the book. But the books aren't generally available to the community for circulation. That's why you have a community library. But all of the titles are. So you could check them and check the content anywhere else, Amazon or at another library.
I think the window is what got my attention. There is no window. If somebody decides 6 months from now or 9 months from now they want to, there is no window.
Well, the thing is, they're always going to be available. So
Okay.
if within the first 60 days of buying it and having it in circulation, somebody wants to say anything, but we're not worried if it's the 5th day or the 70th day. If there's a problem, we want to know about it and address it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam President, members of the board, my final policy and accompanying documents is policy IJNC, which is Resource Centers, Media Centers, School Libraries. It actually is the same information about library procedures and parents' access to the school library books, as Dr. Freeman just said. So this changes the policy, not our practice, just so we are compliant. And then the exhibit is an addition, and it's just a second form or a second opportunity if parents want to request an avenue for access because they don't have it on their computer or can't access. They can ask they can request their child's specific checkout log. And if you have any questions based on that, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Madam President, Governing Board. Next, I have recommended policy changes to KB parental involvement in education. House Bill 2161 and House Bill 2439 are the two parental rights bills that affected this policy. The law requires school districts to create procedures enabling parents to request access to school district and employee electronic records that relate to their child. It also includes reference to the library collection that Dr. Hayden, Dr. Freeman had already addressed. So there's a reference there. The regulation is also attached, and it was amended to state that the parents seeking the types of records listed in the two statutes, they're just spelled out there. They may request records from the district office. And also added to this regulation is verbiage that enables parents to bring a lawsuit if the parents' rights are violated and how they would go about doing that. The related exhibit is also there, and language here was updated to include new requirements as they pertain to law enforcement or a government entity that interferes with these rights, and just spells out how the burden of proof is on the law enforcement or the government agency to demonstrate that it was necessary. It gives them the right to do that. Questions? No. Okay, I also have attached update to regulation KDBR. This requires any entity subject to public records request to provide the name, telephone number, and email address of the department that is authorized and able to assist. So all we did is we took this regulation, put the phone number for my office, the Office of School Support, and we created an email address specifically to field records requests. So this email will be monitored by multiple staff members. As this strategy is common, we've done this for years, create specific ones where multiple people can watch for requests, and this strategy has proven to serve us well, so that's our intent, is to continue. So you'll see there that the information was added, and this item is for information only, doesn't require a motion, and won't be coming back. Questions?
No. Thank you. Next is item 14, the Dr. Freeman?
Madam President, members of the board, there is a winter conference that is attended by school board members and superintendents, sometimes some assistant superintendents. It's generally been held here in town. It's going to be this year at the Marriott Desert Ridge, which is a little further away than where they used to host that, but I guess looping around in the 101, won't be that bad. So we need to know if members, want to be registered to attend, but as part of that conference, there is annual business conducted, and it's in the afternoon on the 15th of December, and I think most of the meeting will be on the 15th and 16th in the morning. There probably are some activities on the 14th, and the board secretary can get detailed information to members. But somebody does need to be authorized as the delegate for the board, so when they go in to do the business, I believe it's one vote per board, and that way they have an idea of keeping things balanced. I think it's my understanding officers are elected at this meeting, and so if there's a new president, that'll be decided then. There may be a little campaigning going on between now and December. And so you need to select somebody who's going to be delegated to vote at that meeting. Theoretically, it'd be somebody who's going to be attending, but otherwise working and getting out early to be there at 3:30.
I can go. I just don't know my timing of what and where I'll be. I've been asked to do something a little different this year at the ASBA. So I'll be there. I'm just not sure in what capacity and what I'll be delivering. So I don't know if I would be able to make it in that arena. I could certainly stand by as a secondary. I just right now don't know what I'm expected to be doing. I just know I've been asked to attend for something. So I'll show up, but I don't want to commit to not being able to participate in something if I'm sidetracked by whatever I'm supposed to be doing, if that makes any sense.
So as the alternate?
Yeah, I could definitely stand by as an alternate.
Anybody else going?
I attended last year just for the business meeting, and I can do that again. I can't commit to being there in the beginning part. And if someone were to go all day, then I'd be more than willing to let them do it. But if no one else can be there for the conference, then I can do the business meeting.
So I'm happy to serve as the alternate. Once I know the schedule of what I'm doing, then we could fine tune it somewhere. I just don't know right now the time and where I'll be at. So, is that any other person want to volunteer?
15th is a Thursday.
It's end of semester that time, so I don't want to totally commit. I mean, I would love to. I mean, I enjoyed going to the, being a delegate recently, but with it being the end of the semester,
Understand.
I don't want to commit.
Mr. Nilsson, are you so excited you're jumping out of your chair?
Well, if you can't make it, I can follow through as well. So I think we've got enough
Okay.
alternatives there, so.
What do you want to put down?
So it looks like Amy's going to go to at least the business meeting, correct, Amy? I will be an alternate, and I will go to whatever I can based on where that fits into whatever schedule I'm given. And if for some reason Mr. Nilsson is also saying he can be there, and if that is necessary, do I have that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the way it's set up, have you been there? All three of you could go into the room. You just have to designate somebody to whatever that mechanism is. I think everybody's welcome.
Yeah, you just get one vote.
Controlling that,
Last year, it was definitely like the voters were on this side of the room and everyone else was in the back. So, just letting you know.
Nothing personal, right?
Okay, does that need to be in the form of a motion, Ada, or do we just need the information?
It says it's an action, we can make it a motion if you want.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it gets submitted in a formal form.
All right, so at this point, I'm asking for a motion as proposed per our discussion.
I move that our delegates be as previously discussed.
Perfect. I've heard a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass as we discussed. Thank you. And next, I think we're going to call for a motion for adjournment at 7:32.
I move we adjourn at 7:32.
Thank
I second
you.
that, sorry. I second
Thank
that.
you. We have a first and a second, and it sounds like we're adjourning at 7:32. Yeah. Was it Curtis? Sarah? Yeah. It was a tie. And do we have things